guys, how you going? So today on BKRsport, we are here at the end of the NRL season. The regular season is finito, and we do have our top 8 teams who will be playing in the finals this week. Obviously, we will be streaming all the games, so definitely get ready for that one. I'm super excited for some NRL finals streams, do or die, and also a couple of double chances as well. But today, guys, we've also got the bottom 8 we have to go through, and I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be the most positive video. I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be... Not going to be a great deal of positive things to say in this video about these teams because they are the bottom 8, which means they did have a unsuccessful season. You know, the main point of playing is to make that top 8 and make the finals and be competitive. And although there were teams here that were competitive at parts and there are teams here that weren't competitive at really any stage, it's still going to be a bit of a tough ask to give them a positive rap. So if you guys don't know what we do every single year, we do a grading system where I'll give you an A, B, C, D, or an F based on, I guess, the preseason predictions that we made, which obviously you can see over here with 10th, 11th, 5th and whatnot. If they're in red, it means I was completely wrong. If they're in green, it means I've got 1 or 2 spots from where I predicted them preseason. Now, guys, obviously we'll do the top 8 teams once they start rolling out, once they start being knocked out. But obviously, for the time being, we do have to go and give a grading based on a whole heap of factors in regards to these bottom 8 teams. And next year, it'll be the bottom 9 because obviously the Dolphins will come in. And don't you worry, they'll be in this video too. Not the finals videos, they'll be in this video next year. So guys, before we do get into the video, we are super close to 19,000. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you are new around here. We're going to try and see if we can get to 20,000 before the NRL Grand Final, which would be absolutely massive. So definitely hit that subscribe button and get around it. And once we do hit 20,000 subscribers, guys, I'm going to be giving away a membership to your team. For one of you lucky subscribers, you'll be getting a membership to your team next season, 2023. Plus also for the Titans fans out there, I'll be giving away a signed Titans jersey and then also a surprise for a 3rd person there. So once we hit 20,000 subscribers, you have a chance to win, you know, 1 of 3 prizes. But guys, let's get into the video here. And the first team that we have to do is the West Tigers. Wow. This has been a monumentally bad season. Like, I think that this was potentially one of the worst seasons I've seen from a team in a long time, actually. You know, I know the Knights team, the 2010s, for me, was the worst team that I've ever seen when they won 3 back-to-back spoons, and they were just bad. But the Tigers this year, they gave it a good run for their money, to be completely honest with you. Just because they won that game against the Rabbitohs and Eels in the middle of the season, it really meant nothing. I said this to you guys, I reaffirmed with you guys at the time, that didn't mean anything. Like, the team was still where they are. They still don't have any real quality in that spine. They don't have that much quality in the back line either. And their forward line there's not much quality there either. There's no positive here to any of this team for me, you know. And even if you add 1 play here or add 1 play there, it's not overall going to change a great deal. You know, they get a couple of good players in next year, but in the same sense, I still have that worrying feeling they're going to be the exact same team as they were this year. So as you guys can see over here, I predicted them in 14th, which is 2 spots above where they officially do sit here in a last position. That is very, very much disappointing because I overreached with that 14th as well. Like, I just thought that based on last year, there's a couple of good games here and there that they were a bit, you know, tough and gritty late on, and I thought maybe they'd be able to translate that into this year and still be poor, still be bad, but, you know, get enough to not finish in last or even 15th. But obviously they just supersede those expectations. And I guess if I want to speak on the Tigers here, obviously it's a fail, guys. You know, it's a blatant fail. It's just, there's no chance at anything but a fail here. And if I could put anything lower than a fail, I genuinely would, because they don't deserve to be on the same as a couple of these other teams. They should be on their own tier. The thing with the Tigers, man, is that, you know, they've been in a rebuild for about 11 years now, and they don't look like they're even close to coming into a Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to change this. So I think the hardest thing for Tigers fans to realise is that the club has told you that you can't expect anything until at least 2026. Yeah, so the club has basically told you this. So no matter what, they can fall back on, we told you you're going to be patient and eventually we'll be successful, but you have to be patient, which you have been patient. I'm a Titans fan, I know all about having to be patient, right? But with Tigers, because they've appointed Tim Sheens as their coach for next year, and then because they've actually said that Benji Marshall will take over as coach in 2025, that's still 3 years away. That's 3 years away. So you're telling me that Tigers fans, after the season they've just had, after getting humiliated in that last round, humiliated throughout most of the season, are now being told that, oh, now we're going to go in a new direction and you can't really expect anything for another 3 years when Benji comes through. And is Benji going to be good? I don't know. We don't know. It's a risk, and obviously, sport is all about risks, and specifically with the Tigers, they need to take risks right now. But man, I tell you right now, they are in a shambles, and your fans, I feel for you because your ownership sucks. Your organisation sucks, and they don't care. So they can pretend and say they care all they like, but nothing's changed. Nothing looks like it's changing, and they've told you that you can't really complain for another 3 years because you have to trust that they believe in Benji Marshall and Tim Sheens, and what's Tim Sheens done since coming back? That's all I'm saying. So, big old foul there for the Tigers, and let's move on. We have the New Zealand Warriors, and, I think that we've gone past the point of excuses with this team at the moment. They've obviously had 3 years now where they have been away from away from New Zealand, and in Australia, when they were a New Zealand team and haven't been able to get home games. They finally got home games this year. They got 4 home games and split them 2-2. Lost one to the Titans, which was appalling. The choke they had there, and the other one was, I think, to the Storm, but they beat the Tigers, who you would assume they would beat, and I can't remember the other team, maybe the Bulldogs or someone like that, but yeah, it was a tough year for the Warriors, again. Jeez, I had them for ninth. I thought that they were going to get, I actually, to be fair, I thought they were going to get home games a lot earlier, so I thought that they'd be able to get a little bit of a momentum going, I believe. I don't know. I can't remember if that was what I was saying back then, but I don't know. The Warriors they aren't great. They have better players than the Tigers, and they do have players here and there like an Anderson or Blake and whatnot, but their spine, they don't really know what they're doing with their spine. They've lost Reece Walsh now as well. There were so many games this year that kind of proved the Warriors as a team that they only play one half, and this is very similar to another couple of teams, but the Warriors, they'll play a really good half and then a really bad half. It just comes down to which half was the more superior. Was this more superior as a good half, or was this more superior as a bad half? So the Warriors obviously finished in 15th. They're actually super lucky that the Tigers didn't have anything to play for in that last round, because the for and against coming into the last round actually was better in favour of the Tigers. The Warriors, obviously the Raiders had to win and they won well, but the Tigers weren't actually too far away from the Warriors overall. They just simply weren't. So very disappointing year for the Warriors. And honestly, I don't know how successful they can be next year either. I don't have them probably for the 8 as we currently speak. They do have Tamari Martin and Chancellor Glockster coming in there, but there's no real 6 there. Sean Johnson, obviously, he's not been fantastic. He's getting a bit older now. And Wade Egan is Wade Egan. He's okay. So, the Warriors, I'm going to give them I have to give them a fail. Yeah, I just do. I have to give them a straight up fail. It's been a failure of a season. I don't even think, if I give a D, at least it gives you got some answers correct. I don't think the Warriors got any answers correct this year. I think this was a throwaway year. Please stop using the excuse of we're away in Australia now. A lot of the players have actually been Australian and playing in Australia, and now they're going to be staying in Australia rather than going back to New Zealand. Like, they're losing Ewan Aitken next year, and he's a very good player, Ewan Aitken. The Warriors, it's been a tough few years, so they need to really realign and focus next year to get a bit of positivity about their team at home. And then once you get some positivity at home and get some wins at home, hopefully that can translate into, obviously, getting enough wins to go into the top 8. There you go. So that's the Warriors. I'll give them a fail, and we move on. Oh boy. It is the Newcastle Knights, the team that signed Kalen Ponga to a, $5 million contract or something like that. Something ridiculous that he's probably regretting right now. The Newcastle Knights started off the season so well. Had a good couple of games early on in the first couple of games. Beat the Roosters, who hadn't done any preseason realistically, and then won a game against, I think, the Tigers, and everyone thought they were top 8 credentials, and I had them 15th. They're very lucky to even be in 15th. They could have also got a spoon. They're a horrible year. Just a simply horrible year, and I'm going to put fail here straight away. Fail straight away. There is just nothing you can take out of this year from Newcastle, and for me, the Knights are still going backwards. It's not like the Warriors, who have something to look forward to. What do the Knights have to look forward to here? They're also losing one of their halves in Milford, who didn't really do it too well there. Their spine, besides Ponga, just doesn't really get it. It obviously shows Ponga is a fantastic player when he plays in Queensland, and fantastic player when he plays elsewhere, but when he plays the Knights, it doesn't really work because he's got no one there. The forwards are a lot older. The backline defense is just atrocious. They've got a points differential of minus 290 alongside the Warriors 292 and also Tigers 327. But that Tigers 327 came from that last game. 290 is, well, to be fair, they made the 8 last year, the Knights, and they had a points differential like minus 100. So their defense hasn't been sorted out at all. It's got worse, but their defense hasn't been good even when they were in the 8. So yeah, this team's going backwards. I don't know where they go forwards. The weirdest thing about the Knights, right, is that throughout the 2010s, they obviously had their worst period in history, which I think is the worst rugby league team of all time in the 2010s. Of all time. The Knights back then were just horrific. Yeah, there's a reason why they won back-to-back wooden spoons. And then they somewhat rebuilt, and people started to see an upward trajectory. They had Mitchell Pearce, they had Callum Ponga, they had a few players here and there. Frizzell came in. They had these guys that were giving positivity, and then they've capitulated. They've just gone, bang, gone. So they're not even in the talking point anymore. So even when they were in the top 8 last year, they weren't even in the talking point. Last year's top 8 was one of the worst top 8s in history. Man, fail. And honestly, I genuinely could see them finishing below Redcliffe next year. Knights fans, you're in for a hard slog because you've had to be patient. You've gone through a rebuild, and the rebuild failed, and now you have to go back into it. Yikes. Big one. So, fail. Jeez, let's move on. Well, hey, here's the boys, the Gold Coast Titans. Here's my team here. Look, I shouldn't be smiling because for Titans fans, you've got to remember this has been a unsuccessful year. I know it feels like a good year because we won 3 of our last 4 games. We beat Manly by a good margin, Knights, and also the Warriors, but all 3 of those teams in the bottom 8, and we didn't beat the Dragons. Still scored a lot of points, but conceded a lot of points there against the Dragons there in Wollongong. The Titans I predicted them for 6th. A lot of people had them for 6th. Cameron Smith had them for 6th. A lot of people had them around the 8, but also some people had them in the bottom 4, which is congratulations to you if you actually predicted that, because they went too young in the spine. Now, the club has held themselves accountable for this. The club has held themselves responsible for this. I know, I speak to people. I know these people. I know the club. I'm very close with the club, and I'm telling you right now that they've taken accountability for what the mistakes were that has been made in this team. There's a reason why they've signed Verrills for next year. There's a reason why they've signed Kieran Foran. 2 roles there that really have been necessary. And the number 9 role has been necessary for 15 years, ever since the Titans came into the comp. So Sammy Verrills is huge there. The Titans defensively had nothing this year. It was all about the attack and no defense, and sometimes the attack wouldn't click, obviously, against the better defensive teams. I think that realistically for me as well, that first game against the Eels, where arguably for me, we got dudded on a few calls, and I believe we should have won that game. I think that our club, because we're not so experienced in regards to, I guess, dealing with that and dealing with the controversy and kind of pushing forward, we have a lot of guys here who are 21 years old, 22 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old. There's probably like 3 guys above the age of 27, 28, right, playing. So young guys can definitely be impacted so much heavier by a loss like that, where you feel like you deserve a win and then you just have to try and bounce back from it, and they never did. So I think that was the first game of the season where I thought it was a bit of a tough one. They just couldn't overturn that hurdle or jump over that hurdle, and unfortunately just kept going down and down and down. Very lucky not to get the spoon this year. Like I said, they finished off really well at the end of the year. Tanner Boyd, fantastic towards the end of that season. Obviously got that field goal against the Warriors. I think that him and Toby Sexton have been thrown into the fire in the sense that there's no experience there to help them out in the halves. They're both very young. And obviously Toby never really was able to get it going. He was gone back down to Tweed. Hopefully he can get a bit of form about himself and then get back into the team lineup there. With Tanner, he waited his time, got his crack, and just isn't letting it go now. So looking forward to see if they go with Tanner next year. There are positives for next year for the Titans. They were still a top 8 team not last year. I know the last year was the worst top 8 in history, but they were still a top 8 team last year, right? They were still a dangerous team. They've still got Fafita and Bo Furman, who are 2 of the best back rowers in the competition. Once Bowie gets rid of that knock-on out of his game, being one of the best back rowers in the competition. Aaron Clark, fantastic, in the front row forwards. I love this team setup. I just think that it wasn't the year, so hopefully next year they can bounce back. I'm going to give this one a D-. I'm going to go with a D- here. I'm not going to say it's a complete and utter fail, because I feel like this season has taught them very quickly. I feel like it's better actually to finish in the bottom 4 here for the Titans with the decision making they made than it would have been to finish 9th, because if they finish 9th, or even if they finish 8th, it would have kind of shown no progress to little to no progress, and I don't think that a team that team we had kind of last year and the momentum, that ability that we thought we had would have really actually transitioned. So I think that this has been a massive learning curve, and I think this year has been a massive year to understand that, yeah, it wasn't the right thing to do. You learn from a year like this. We were really poor. We ended the season well, get some momentum going. We get Aaron Clark back in the lock next year. We get Verrills, we get Foran. JC's been fantastic. Where's Brimdog go? There's so many positives about this next year. So it's definitely still a fail. I've got D- here. It's still a fail. Anything below C- is a fail. It's not as bad a season as the Knights, the Warriors, and the Tigers. But I guess in regards to prediction, it's worse. And in regards to prediction, but then again, there were a lot of people who also put them in the bottom 8. So, yeah, I guess in regards to prediction, it's specifically worse on my behalf. But I can definitely see positives, and I think that there are things that we can utilise from this year to learn for the future. So I'm very excited, and hopefully next year it changes and we get the ambush going, baby. Hopefully we get the ambush going. Just outside the bottom 4, we have the Canterbury Bulldogs. The Canterbury Bulldogs. A couple of positives here and there about this year. Still a bit confused about the doggies though. They were very start, probably better towards the mid to end part of the season, not the end, the mid to end part of the season. We started to see this team click a little bit more, but there is still a lot left wanting with this team. I still probably, at this very moment, would have them for a very similar position next year, maybe 1 or 2 spots higher. I don't have them for the 8, but they'll be competitive. They've got a new coach coming through, so they've had a transition of coaches this year too, with Trent Barrett obviously going out. I don't even know why he was there in the first place. Wasn't great at Manly or Panthers. He rode the coattails at Panthers. For me anyway, cool. But we move. And look, they got Mick Potter, who did well for a little bit, but in the same sense, guys, you've got to remember, when a new coach comes in, you're always going to see the team usually become successful for at least a couple of weeks, because those players are playing for that coach and the players are playing to keep their spot in the team, right? Because you've got a new coach, he could want different things, so you want to show him how good you are. And that's what they did. They won a couple of games. Doggies fans started to get a bit higher on them, and then they kind of came back down to earth a little bit more and realised, we're not there just yet. The defence is improved on last year, to be fair. Obviously, they were wooden spooners last year. The defence was improved. I had them improving, as you can see over there. I had them in 13th, and they've come in 12th, so I got the green light there. Some people had them 8, some people had them last again. I never had them for last again. Josh Adokar is still a very nice player there. Burton had a fantastic year. They get Reid Marnie next year, which will help their spine quite a bit as well. Does he really significantly change that for a massive, massive positive? I don't know. Reid Marnie, Mitchell Moses, Dylan Brown, and Queen Gutho there are a good combo. I don't know how specified the Eels' success is on Reid Marnie, but I still think Reid Marnie is a great little player there. And obviously the backup number 9 there to Ben Hunt / Harry Grant at Queensland. Look, I think that for the Bulldogs, I'm going to go, it's still definitely underneath their pass because it's still 12, but I'm going to go with a D+. I'm going to go with a D+. They have gone from last to 12th, and I guess they go up 1 spot in my prediction. That's not meaningful at all, though. I just see that they are moving in the right direction, and although they still didn't win that many games at all this year, 7 games out of a possible 24, I still see positives. So I'll give them a D+. It's not a pass mark by any means. But I'm excited to see. I'm intrigued. I'm not excited. I'm intrigued to see what the Dogs do with the talent that we may be about to see at this club. So D+. Not doing the Eagle Rock this season. No, doing the Eagle Rock this season, man. Manishi Eagles. Oh no, jeez. I picked them for 5th position. I think my boy Entertain House, he put Buddy Manly for 1st. Wild. I never thought that. Obviously, Tommy Trbojevic was injured for the entirety of the season, pretty much. But we'll say this: he wasn't playing too well in the first 5 or so rounds when he was playing anyway. It just didn't seem like it was going to be Manly's year. I think that they can use the excuse now of Tommy Trbojevic, and they may have won a couple more games with Tommy. But I still don't think they would have made the 8 with Tommy Trbojevic this year. I don't know if that's a ballsy call, but I still don't. I didn't see anything spectacular from Manly. Really at any stage of this year. It was just really a bit of a bland year. It's a really bland year filled with controversy, obviously with the pride scenario with the jersey, Desi Hasler issues, the fact that they've lost Kieran Foran halfway through the season to go to the Titans. and they were backing in Joshy Schuster, but now they're not necessarily believing in Joshy Schuster. There's a lot that's going on here at this club, and it's going to be tough to see them actually improve next year. They could be very much in for a similar position next year if they don't really sort out all these infighting issues and the organisational issues that have arisen from their lack of understanding and lack of decision making this season. So for Manly, they're going with a fail. They've had a way worse season than Bulldogs and Titans. Way worse season than Bulldogs and Titans. They were expected to be successful. Had a miraculous year last year. Still fell short though. Manly massive fail. Their team's also a bit older. It's not like they're a massively young team. Like Top Quarter is nice and young, but their halves, they got Cherry Evans and 4 and goes. They just have to put in Schuster. Like I said, don't believe in him at the moment. Tom Trbojevic is just simply injury prone, injury ridden. And then you go to the 9, Lockie Croker. I don't know what's going on there with the 9. I'm struggling to see a positive for Manly this year at all, and I'm struggling to see Manly actually bouncing back next year. But it is Manly. Manly are usually quite a successful team. Anything can happen, but for the time being, I think Manly have been super poor this year, and I've got them as a blatant fail. Number 10, the penultimate team here, and that is the St. George Illawarra Dragons. What a random year, eh? If you guys watch my streams, you know me. I say all the time, I don't know how this team is here. Like, I don't know how the Dragons are there. They are better than the teams below them, kind of, but, I don't even know how they're there. It's just been such a... I don't even know if... So Manly were bland. I'd say this would be even more than bland. I just don't... Really basic year. It's just been a superbly basic year. If it was not for Ben Hunt, this team would be, last. Truly. If it was not for an absolutely unbelievable player like Ben Hunt, who is probably going to get the Dally M this year, they are probably maybe better than Tigers, who only won 4 games this year out of 24. They're probably better than Tigers, but they're still in that talking point for getting a wooden spoon. The Dragons... They never really were in the hunt for the at any stage this year. Never in the hunt for the wooden spoon. There was never anything about this year that looked good. They went out and bought about 100-year-old players that they thought would bring an experience to a team that didn't really have any... It's not really youngsters. They had Sloan. At least they got rid of Duffy. It's a really confusing team, man. It's a confusing team because I say this all the time. They need to go into a rebuild. There's no way you can tell me the Dragons think they're in a rebuild right now. They are incorrect if they don't think they should be in a rebuild right now. Dragons, you are not competitive. You are not going to win the comp. You are not even close to winning a comp. You are not close to being good enough to beat the teams up the top. You need to be in a rebuild. You can't tell me the rebuild is going out and buying Aaron Woods and giving him a player option for a year. Aaron Woods and a player option. Shit, man. Sorry, and I don't mean to specifically point out Aaron Woods here, but he's kind of the basis for the thought process of the Dragons right now. They've gone out and bought players who are unwanted by every other club, and they've paid money for guys who are plus 30 years old. Where's the positives here? And Ben Hunt, the only guy that's even got the Dragons in this situation, is 32. What are you doing? What are the Dragons doing? I don't get it. I don't know what you want me to say here. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm going to give you... Do I give him a C-? Just so it's the most... at least it was something. No, D+. No, it's not even a plus. I'll go D-, man. I'm honestly going to go a D-. I'm going to go a D-. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, they were better than, these other teams, or they're better than the Bulldogs. Shush! You're not going to win shit with this team. Rebuild the team, Dragons organisation. Rebuild the team. You are not competitive. You are not going to win a comp with this team. At this point, you need to just probably get rid of Ben Hunt. You need to probably just get rid of all these guys. And just move on and come through. Obviously, keep some experienced players here and there. If you want to keep Ben Hunt, cool. Don't care. Please, for the love of God, know where you are at as a club. There is nothing about this club that is exciting. I have more excitement right now about the Warriors, about the Titans, about the Bulldogs. I'd say Manly. I'd say the Tigers, because at least they're in the process. At least they're saying they're in a process of moving into the next chapter with Benji Marshall and Tim Sheens. The Dragons aren't in no process. The process is stupid. Sort it out. D-. Let's go. Whoa. Whoa. The Brisbane Broncos. Ooh, I like it. Here we go. Okay, let's get into it, eh, baby? The Brisbane Broncos. Brisbane Broncos, number 9. I predicted them for 10th, so they were in pretty much the exact same position that I expected them to be in. So I'd take that as you will. I definitely didn't think they were bad enough to finish in the bottom 4, and I did think they had an opportunity at the 8 pre-season, but their season has pretty much gone to plan. Obviously, the way the season's planned out has not gone to the thought process that I had, but the ultimate goal, the ultimate ending finish has gone to plan in that sense. Wow, what an unsuccessful year for the Broncos, but successful at the same time. But an unsuccessful year, but a successful at the same time. It was a poor start. It was a poor start for the Broncos, and then they really worked their way into just grinding out their defense. Their defense was very, very good. Their defense was very, very solid for a long part. One of the better defensive teams in the comp. I dead set, genuinely don't know what went wrong. Something would have had to have happened in the club. I don't get it. I don't understand how you can fall off that bad. There's a stat here. I've got a stat for you. The final 3 games of the NRL season, the Broncos went 0-3. They had minus 105 points in that 0-3. The Raiders, they went 3-0 and they had plus 94 points in that 3-0. The Bronx turned a 2-game and 100-point lead in for and against into a 1-game and 99-point deficit. That's mad. That's mad. What went wrong? What happened? It was one of the most gigantic collapses I've ever seen in sport. How did they miss the 8? I know I called it 6 weeks ago. I know I did. You can go back to the streams and see. I know I called it. But there was just a feeling at the time. Like there was something changing in the waters in Brisbane. There was something about to go down the opposite direction to where I guess they were showing, I don't know, man. You know, they've got positives for next year. But in the same sense, like, Ezra Mam is overrated, man. They've got Reece Walsh coming in, who's also defense lackluster, but good attack. Could work out the Broncos. It'd be really interesting to see how he goes. Number 9 is still, jeez, I don't even know what's going on there. Adam Reynolds has an expiry date. He has 2 years left in his contract. He's not getting any younger. If you don't win, or you're not at least successful in the next 2 years, then that signing is a fail. You need to get a move on, Broncos. You went out and made a big ballsy call, and you got Reynolds, and that was a great signing, and now you built the team around him. Now go out and utilise that, because if you don't utilise that, dear me, it might be classed as a foul long term. So I'm going to give the Broncos a C this year. I'm going to give them a C. Because they were 14th last year, and they did still improve, and they were a competitive top 4 team. So they did still have a lot of positives about the year and still could rejuvenate for next year and learn from this. Like I said with the Titans, utilize a year like this to learn from it and then actually become better from it. I believe that with the Titans, and I believe the Broncos can do that here as well. They've got a good forward pack. Their backline is decent. Their backline's decent. Their forward lines are probably where they are. I don't know. It's pretty well mixed. They're not the best in the comp at either forwards or backs, but they're definitely pretty well mixed in regards to being higher up there. Probably more so forwards. Their backline's a little bit shaky from time to time, but I don't know. Players just need to understand that was unacceptable, because they realistically should be playing the Storm in week 1 of the finals in Melbourne, and they would get crunched. And I said this to you guys as well on the streams. Broncos fans, you don't want them at the 8. On this weekend, I was like, you don't want them at the 8, because you could either fade away into non-existence this week, where people laugh at you, but they move on, or you could play the Storm next week in Melbourne and you get beaten by 70, and then you get humiliated, like when you lost to Parramatta 58-0 a couple of years back in Parramatta. What do you want? Do you rather fade away into non-existence without people really talking too much, because they've already spoken a lot about you in the last month or so, or have everyone watch you live get punched in the mouth by the Storm Melbourne? I don't know. I think this worked out better for the Broncos. So I'm going to go with, I'll go with a C. It's not a positive. It's just a simple pass mark, because they do pass this season. oh, shit, you need to sort that out next year, because that was outrageous. That collapse was, for every fan who doesn't like the Broncos, was incredible. And shout out to my boys in Brisbane who at Suncorp. I know you're watching this one specifically in regards to the people who were sitting 3 rows in front of me at the Suncorp Stadium game. Oh boy. I hope you enjoyed this season. There we go, guys. That's going to be it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up button. Like I said, subscribe if you are new around here. We will be doing another one of these probably next week for the 2 teams that get knocked out this week, and then 2 teams a week after, and then the grand finalist teams. Or let me know in the comment section, would you rather just us do the bottom 8 here and then do the top 8 after the finals finish, or would you rather me do them in pieces? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with my decisions? Do you agree with my calls? Literally, it's just my opinion. If you disagree, feel free to explain to me why I'm wrong. I'm happy to hear it. But don't forget, guys, we're streaming all 4 of the finals games this week. We've got my NRL tipping video that comes out tomorrow, which is going to be pretty interesting, considering I have to do a punishment. And yeah, looking forward to the finals, and hopefully my Titans can do better next year. That's me out for today, guys. Appreciate you. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.